Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie, and today we're talking about the the set of skills having to do with in dialectical behavioral therapy. It's called relationship effectiveness, and they have the acronym GIVE. I added an R, making it the giver skills, which have to do with how to build a bond with someone and how to deepen that bond. If you haven't watched the introduction to the giver skills, please do so. And there's also an introduction to all these skills about relationships. And there's an introduction to the entire section of learning to love, which helps you understand what this section is all about. And finally, there's an introduction to the whole video series talking about each of the 5 sections and how they fit together. So you might want to check that out. So to dive right in, today we're talking about interest in others. When you have a genuine interest in others, they notice it, and it brings people closer to you. Also, it's much more pleasant having interactions with others when you have a genuine interest in it. So learning to develop this skill is huge. And it is something that can be developed. It's not there when you're in a really reactive space and having a lot of emotions relating to the past. But as you foster this skill of starting to have an actual genuine interest in others, it feels wonderful. So we're going to dive right in. There are 2 parts to this video. One is about the practice of mindfulness of others, and then the second part is about open, honest questions. And so first, we're going to talk about mindfulness of others. So as is the case with all the mindfulness skills in this video series, this comes from Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, DBT, and they had a certain handout for mindfulness of others, mindfulness of current emotions that was good, but I didn't find was quite what I was looking for. So basically, I've taken the principles of mindfulness that you can find more on in the Being Beyond section, and I am talking about each of these as it relates to being mindful of others, shining the light of mindfulness on another person, which is, as you start to practice it, you will find a fascinating experience and a source of great joy. So to start with these skills, so observe, pay attention, notice someone else, see if you can notice more details about who they are. We have sort of a first impression, but if you keep bringing your attention back to someone, you'll notice way more details about their experience that can be endlessly fascinating. Describe goes right along with this, because if you describe what you're experiencing and seeing in your mind, this person is wearing this outfit, their facial expression looks like this, I'm noticing this, I'm noticing this. It helps to bring a clarity to the experience and a sharpness to your mind, and helps you to notice, track, and hold on to more details about another person. Participate has to do with letting go to an experience and letting go to an interaction with someone. All of us have parts of us that hold us back. That's okay. We're not trying to force through that. Just gently, over time, loosening, opening to participating more and more. What you'll find if you participate more is that you'll have more energy. It can be a little more anxiety provoking because you're letting go of controlling the experience, but it makes the experience much more alive and is critical. You can also find that you can develop a sense of playfulness with this participate skill, that you're kind of in it with someone and there's like a back and forth to interactions that feels very good. Non-judgmentally has to do with letting go of judgment, noticing when judgment comes in, if this is right or wrong, good or bad. We're always discerning harmful from helpful. At the same time, people have a depth to them that our initial judgments don't allow for. So see if you can go beyond your initial impression of someone to see the deeper sense of who they are. And over time, if you really get to know people, you realize that their first sense, based on the behaviors they do, there's always reasons behind it, and you can have much more compassion and understanding and connection with someone if you are able to let go of judgment. One mindfully has to do with concentration. So your mind will naturally wander when you're in an interaction with someone. They are talking and you find your mind goes over here. That's what the mind does. And you can notice over time and practice the skill of bringing back and settling and bringing your attention back to the person, concentrating more on them and coming back to these skills of observing, describing, participating. Effectively has to do with being aware of what is your goal in the interaction with the person. What effect do you want to have on this person, this interaction, and noticing that effect more. When we're in a reactive place and there's a lot of emotions up for us, we're thinking more about ourselves and how we're being affected. But as you practice this skill and get into a more settled place, you start to notice, oh, that comment seems to have this effect on this person. And being aware of effect just has a very positive effect. The other thing with effectively is if you find yourself getting a little lost, come back to your vision, your long-term goals, your long-term visions. It can help to reinforce your sense of inner strength in an interaction so that you're mindful of them, but you're also connected with yourself. Intuition has to do with being aware of your deeper, more peaceful voices inside. Perhaps if you let go a little bit and you listen within, you might have an intuitive sense of how to interact with someone that would feel the best, and you can see if you can trust that and follow that. And if it goes well, becoming more connected with your intuition can really help to have a mindful experience with someone else. Finally, gratitude. If you practice these, I am confident that you will have the experience of having more gratitude in your interactions with others. And you can also consciously foster, as you're with someone, think about what you're grateful for about them and their relationship. This will foster the bond and deepen the connection between you. So that's mindfulness of others. The second and last thing I wanted to tack onto this video is open, honest questions. This comes from a place called the Center for Courage and Renewal, which you can look up online, and they have trainings you can do or just experiences you can have. Also, Parker Palmer wrote a book, A Hidden Wholeness, which talks about this. This comes a lot from Quaker experience, and it's quite powerful, and it's really fascinating. So, I mean, I'm a psychiatrist, so I am questioning all the time and asking questions, but I'm asking questions for specific reasons to kind of discern, which is very valuable. However, I realized in taking some trainings with them that I wasn't that good anymore at asking open, honest questions. So what is an open, honest question? It's a question that shows you're listening. It's right on the edge with someone, and it is a question that you truly don't know the answer to. It's not leading at all. Many times it's very imaginative. I was in these courses with people and people would ask me a question. I'd be like, wow, what an amazing question. It's like, what's an example? One time I was talking about a inner conflict I was having inside between two different sort of ideas of where I might want to go. And someone asked me a question of if you held this one choice in one hand and you held another choice in the other hand, how do they feel in each hand? And what do you see if you imagine them sitting in each hand? That really drew me into an exploration of myself that was incredibly helpful. There's no right way to ask these open, honest questions. The idea is to practice. And I find even just being in the mindset of attempting to think about one makes me really engaged in the interaction with someone. A few key things that they say, which makes sense to me, is these are not so much why questions. The other, how, who, where, what, when, are more relevant than a why question. Why kind of brings people into their head, and it's about like sort of synthesis and interpretation. There's a time for that, but these are more about helping someone's imagination grapple with their current experience and learn from it. If you're interested in this open, honest questions, I would look at the Center for Courage and Renewal to learn more. But I did want to mention it because I found it to be a extremely powerful practice. So I hope this all was helpful. Thank you for watching. And there will be more videos relating to the giver skills. The next one that's being highlighted is validation.